Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Yoga Hariprastya, and you can call me Yoga. And I'm in charge to become the master of ceremony for this session. Young people are not only victims of climate change, they are also valuable contributors to the climate action. They are agents of change, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Whether through education, science, or technology, young people are scaling up their efforts and using their skills to accelerate the climate action. To start this session, which entitled Youth, Our Hope, Our Action, Mas Dias Hendropiano will give a keynote speech. Mr. Diaz, we'll give him it. Okay. Mas Diaz, yeah.
Oh iya, belum berarti.
Yeah. Mr. Diaz Hendropiano, as the special staff to the President of Indonesia and a board member of Asosiasi Ekosistem Mobil Listrik, also a key player in shaping Indonesia's future, aware of the highly worrisome impacts of climate change. Mas Diaz realized sustainable transportation and energy itself were not enough. More sectors were needed to be revolutioned to fight the climate change. His alignment with President Jokowi's vision further highlights his dedication to Indonesia's progress in both the political and environmental sectors. Please give another round of applause to Mas Diaz.
Thank you.
Mas Diaz,
Terima kasih,
stage is
terima
yours.
kasih, Mas. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, early evening. And I just want to add one more thing. I just wrote a book, so you guys can download my book later on. It's called The Dangerous Humans Towards Zero Emissions. And so thank you all. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Diaz Hendro Priyono. You can call me Diaz. But before we start, I would like to note the presence of my good friends, Bang Akbar, Faisal, and Mas Boy. Mas Boy, thank you for support, and your son is here also. But I would like to note, highlight maybe three things about my presentation. First is the government's commitment on fighting climate change or global warming. And second, it's private sector's role, or specifically youth role, in creating innovations. And third is how we can collaborate together. And I think you know all of this, that the Earth is going to extinct soon. And it's all because our, whatever we do on Earth, our activities produce emissions, and that cause global warming and climate change and all that. But what I would like to emphasize is that this is not only happening in, or like small nation states. Indonesia is also gonna get the impact. According to recent research, 115 islands in Indonesia are going to sink very soon. And we also face the same challenge as the world. The world's challenge is population growth, and Indonesia is also facing population growth, which means that there will be more land, more water to be used, and there would be more emissions because of the fact that we have more people living. And you know that land and water are scarce, and I don't have to go through that. And we also know that global warming actually really kills. And I do not mean to disrespect the victims of other natural disasters, but we know the magnitude, how bad global warming really is. And we realize that compared to other natural disasters, for example, tsunamis, you know, recent tsunamis only killed 251,000, only quote unquote. And global warming, according to a study by Monash University, kills at least 5 million a year. And if you compare it to COVID at its peak was only 3 million. And terrorist attacks, if you add up the number of victims because of terrorist attacks, major terrorist attacks, including Bali bombings, 9/11 and all that, That only adds up to 250,000 or 210,000. And major wars after World War II only adds up to 3.4 million. And again, global warming is 5 million. And of course, this is just another trivia. I think we should know that wars do not only directly kill millions of innocent lives, but they also produce unnecessary emissions. And so, for all the youth out there, I think we have to voice out our opinions, and we have to stop any kind of war in the world in the name of humanity and in the name of continuation of life on Earth. Thank you. Go ahead. And so, like I said, global warming does not only affect Indonesia, does not only affect other countries, but it also affects Indonesia specifically. And we also face the same challenge as the world. And this is what I would like to note, that I think if, many of you, some of you already sat in these sessions, I think you must have heard all about the government's policies. I just want to highlight that Indonesia also has put up some efforts to fight climate change. Oh. Okay. Our President Jokowi is committed to fight global warming. He has already signed Paris Agreement, and it's already ratified into law. And we have already increased our emission reduction target to 31.89% from 29% before. And it's 31.89 and 43.2%, depending on with or without international support by 2030. And we have also a commitment for net zero emissions by 2060. And these are all the policies that we already issued related to global warming. Go ahead. So the next thing I would like to note is that because tonight's theme is about youth, I think youth in Indonesia has participated, has given their contributions to fighting global warming and climate change. So I've met with a lot of young ecopreneurs in Indonesia who already developed or offered their innovations to the world. And I think it's worth something to see what they have done in several sectors. Like, for example, in the energy, transportation, construction, agriculture, and waste management. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead. More. Next. Okay, so Indonesia already have a target to increase its renewable energy mix from 23% to 31% by 2050. Next. And we have some floating solar panel and in different locations which I have already visited. Go ahead. And we have hydro, wind, and also geothermal. And we also have experiment with carbon capture utilization storage. Although it's not perfect yet, it is a system in which you can capture the CO2 from from an oil field, and then you can store it underground. Okay, go ahead. Next. And I would like to tell you that innovations in this sector, they do not come only from big corporations. Sometimes they come from villages, from community level. So I went to a village in Boyolali, deep in central Java. And the community there, each family has maybe 2-3 cows. But then when I went there, I just found out that they don't slaughter the cows for food. So I just realized, I asked them, and actually what they did was they used the cow dungs. They put the cow dungs in the biodigester, and so they captured the CH4 and the methane, and then used the methane for electricity, and then the rest of the cow dungs, without the methane anymore. They use for organic fertilizers. So this is done by village people in the middle of, deep in the village in Central Java. And in transportation sector also we are lucky because we have so many companies that already produce two-wheelers and four-wheelers, and our government also has set a target of 2 million two-wheelers by 2025 and 2,000 four-wheelers by 2025. Okay, go ahead. And then there are some young ecopreneurs also who produce swapping stations and charging stations to sort of improve the ecosystem. And in terms of public transportation, we have already switched to EV from combustion. And there's one researcher also that she has tried to produce an electric vehicle powered by hydrogen. And in terms of agriculture, usually when you talk about emission, we only talk about energy and transportation, but we don't talk about agriculture. But I think most of you already know that agriculture produces emissions, especially CH4, methane, which is more potent than CO2. And so I think relying on this animal protein is not sustainable in the future. You may not be able to eat, sate ayam, kambing guling, or hamburger, kebab, steak. In the future, you may not be able to eat this anymore. They require a lot of land, a lot of water, and then they produce a lot of emissions. And I think cricket can be the future of our food. And why is it cricket or jangkrik? In bahasa Indonesia, cricket, because it requires less feed, less water, less land, and less emissions. But in terms of its nutrition, it has more fiber, less fat, and contains omega-3, just like salmon fish. So I think we could all be eating crickets in the future. And, a lot of countries have already produced that. But what I would like to note is that in Indonesia, we already have crickets for food. And there is also deep in a village in Wonosari, they produce crickets. So future food may come from Wonosari. And plant-based meat. There are some ecopreneurs or startups that produce plant-based meat that comes from mushroom. So no land or less land, saves water and low emissions. No CH4, no methane. Or microalgae. There's a startup in Java that produces protein from microalgae. So microalgae gives you lots of protein. And what's a good thing is that it absorbs CO2 and produces oxygen because it does photosynthesis just like any other plant. And this comes from Sukoharjo in Indonesia by a youngster also, a young ecopreneur. Go ahead. And what about farming? Farming in the future, we cannot have farms like we have now because it requires lots of land and lots of water. And in the future, we may switch to a farm that requires less land and less water. So vertical farming would be the farm of the future. And I found two ecopreneurs in Indonesia like Nudira and Belief Farms. Both are from Bogor. They produce or they make vertical farms. Obviously, save land, save water, but more productivity. More productivity. Again. And then there's one researcher from Universitas Pajajaran. She has taken vertical farming to the next level. So not only she can save land, save water, and then more productivity, but she can also do it with zero emissions. And water, she does not use water from the groundwater. She uses rainwater. And usually when you have vertical farming, you need pump powered by electricity, fossil fuel, to bring the water up to a higher elevation. But this researcher from Universitas Pajajaran, she does that with a valving system. So no electricity at all. And in terms of construction, there's many companies that already produce or have innovations on how to reduce emissions in this sector. For example, Solusi Bangun Indonesia produces cement that requires less emission. And then in Lombok, there's one foreigner, Kevin, from EcoCrete. So she lives in Lombok now, or he lives in Lombok, and he produces bricks from faba, or fly ash bottom ash, from the remains of coal. And then what is it now? Oh, Rebricks. Yeah, Rebricks. This one is in Tangerang. I visited the factory in Tangerang, and Rebricks produces bricks from plastic waste and cement. So usually when you have bricks, you need cement and sand. So she does not use the sand, she replaces it with plastic waste. Thereby, you don't need to do like mining of the sands that could be environmentally unfriendly. And then, oh, this is very interesting. Block Solutions, the CEO is Jimmy, it's on the right. He produces bricks from plastic waste, but he makes it, molds the bricks like a Lego. So we could just build a house like as if we stack up Lego pieces. It's very easy to make, so I did it myself. And then another company in Tangerang, Plana, this guy is also a young ecopreneur. He produces planks from plastic waste and rice husk. So usually when you produce planks, you produce using wood. So by doing so, you don't have to cut trees. And then waste, you know, Indonesia produces a lot of waste, unfortunately. But then, you know, all the dangers of plastics, you know, accumulation of garbage, emissions, and also microplastics. But, and, go ahead. Yeah, here I just would like to note that we know how dangerous microplastics is. Microplastics, you know, everywhere we go, we eat fish, there's microplastics. We drink water, there's microplastics. Even in the recent study by a Japanese researcher states that there's microplastics in the air. So it's just everywhere. So believe it or not, every day, every one of us in here eats microplastics the size of credit card every week. Every one of us. And microplastics has found its way to breast milk and also human placenta. So our descendants will be born with microplastics. And to solve these problems, there are so many ecopreneurs that I have met that focus on reducing or avoiding waste, including microplastics, like Split Pack, Eco8, Robberies, and Bedo, who produces guitar from bottle caps. And Eco8, Robberies produces furniture, desks, and everything from plastic waste. And Alner, you know, this guy sells daily necessities like shampoos and soaps, but with containers that you can return and then to be filled up later on, so you don't have plastics to go to the landfill. And then there are numerous application-based trash collections, for example, Octopus and Duitin, and these are also founded by young ecopreneurs. And Octopus, this is like a mobile app that you can download, and then if you have a lot of trash in your home and you would like to be picked up, you just choose which collector you want, and then that guy or that lady would come and pick up your trash. Okay, there is a voluntary movement that is getting stronger in Indonesia. And there are some companies also that produce biodegradable packaging or cutleries. So after you drink or after you eat with cups or bowls, then these bowls, they don't end up in landfill, they just biodegrade. And of course, biodegradable plastics from organics. Okay. And waste to energy, it says already 1 minute, so I have to go hurry. Okay, this thing I would like to mention that of all these companies, I also found one village in Batang whose community does organic waste management in, I think, in an innovative way. So what they do is that they get all this organic waste and then they would give it to maggots until the maggots die. Then maggots would be given to animal feed, and then the rest of the organic waste would be for organic fertilizers. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, for this one, you realize that how many clothes, pants you buy every year, and they would end up nowhere but in landfill. So Indonesia is proud to have all of these ecopreneurs who can produce biodegradable fashion. For example, Mycotech, so that is my CL, he produces leather-like materials from fungi, and then Bell Living Lab, the one on the right, he produces leather-like materials from coffee skins. Okay, go ahead. Go. Okay. And this one, e-waste and food loss and food waste. Go ahead. Next. There are 2 companies at least that focus on food loss and food waste so that they don't go in the landfill and then produce CH4. And so this is my last 3 slides. Indonesia's green ecosystem is ready to be unlocked. I just would like to highlight that we have the whole ecosystem for each sector. For example, for waste management, you have all these young ecopreneurs with their inventions in the producers, consumers, collectors, sorters, and processors. They are ready to be unlocked. We just have to make them together and form these green ecosystems. There is one sector, and then another sector. So for example, in the future housing or the construction sector, we have all the right entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, who can contribute to produce houses of the future. 0 emissions. Next. And also in the energy sector and in the transportation sector. And what we need is just your support. We are ready, I think, for future collaborations. Indonesian youth has the right equipment to save Indonesia and to make the world to be a better place. That's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mas Diaz, for your insightful remarks. Therefore, I would like to invite all of the speakers, Mas Gama, Abdurrahman Tohir, Mas Zagi Berian, Mr. Ali Al-Shamari, and Ms. Lada Rudar to come to the stage and having a photo session with Mas Diaz. Kurang geser sini, Gi. Kurang geser tengah sini. Thank you very much, Mas Diaz, and all of the speakers. Mas Diaz Hendro Priyono will have another agenda in this COP 28 UNFCCC Dubai. Let's give another round of applause to the keynote speaker and all of the speakers. Thank you. Mas Gama, Mas Zagi, Mr. Ali Al-Shamari, and Ms. Ladarudar, you may have a seat. Thank you so much. And the session will be moderated by Ms. Desmona Chandra. Ms. Mona, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mas Yoga, for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Hello, the audience. How are we today? Well, if you think, what do you think of our pavilion? Is it good? Amazing. If it's good, may I have a big round of applause? And if it's great, can you make it louder? Thank you. I guess it will live up the spirit a little bit, right? Because it's 4 p.m. I know it's not the right time to have a serious conference. So I'll try to make it light, fun, but still you will gain some valuable knowledge from all the speakers on the stage. They might look young. They are young, but rich in knowledge. So I will just start the question from the youngest, from the panelists, and I assume it will be Gama. Gama, I heard from the grapevines, somewhere from the floor, that you have developed a project when you were 15. It's in relation to some renewable energy. Can you tell us more about that?
Test.
We can hear you.
Thank you so much for letting me share. So a little bit about Desa Bumi is that we started it back in 2015 when I was 15. It was a middle school project of mine. And our main focus was to find rural areas in Indonesia that didn't have access to renewable electricity. So our goal was to provide clean energy to places that didn't have energy. And how we did that was by building infrastructure that provided them with sustainable energy, green energy, and that was used for economic growth. In that way, it's self-sufficient, and then we made sure to tailor it to each community's specific needs as well.
Okay, so is it hard for you to actually take the first step to do that? Is there any obstacles you come across, or it's just smooth process?
No, I think it's very challenging for someone, especially very young, to come into a remote village or a remote area and propose all these ideas of implementing change, especially to villages who typically don't have contact with outsiders. So it takes a certain nuanced approach where you have to come in not demanding change, but proposing ideas that are aligned with what they think are core values of their villages. That way they're more likely to adopt it. So that the whole process is a challenge for myself and for the team. But thankfully, we've successfully implemented it in 3 locations so far in Indonesia.
I think we owe him a big appreciation for the contribution he made for the society. He was 15, and I think, what do we all do when we were 15? Like for me, all I could think of was just playing and playing. But he has done something for the society and for the community. And that takes me to Ali. You are the chairman of Taka Youth Council, which sounds like you are doing something good, right? Doing something right for youth. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for hosting us in the Indonesian Pavilion. And welcome everyone to the United Arab Emirates. We hope that you feel home and between your family. So I want just to give you a little bit background about the Taka Youth Council, where the council has been established last year. And we have built a couple of bridges and network that those bridges took us to know Zagi, my brother Zagi, and our brothers from Indonesia. So Once we decided to develop our roadmap, we asked ourselves at the beginning, do we need certain initiatives that to tick the box that we conducted a couple of initiatives, or we want to drive an impact? And jointly we agreed that we want to drive an impact. So we have identified a couple of initiatives where it tap on the sustainable development goals, domestically and internationally, because Taqa, as of today, is an international and global company. We do exist in a couple of countries: India, Ghana, GCC, Morocco, Europe, North America. And moreover, we own 43% of Masdar, our renewable arm. And Masdar, they have a branch in Indonesia too. So what we are doing, I will tap on one initiative. We just came back from India last week. We conducted one of the initiatives, we called it Taqa brings Taqa. Taqa in Arabic, it means energy. So Taqa brings energy. We went to north of India, to one of the villages. We have started and we kicked off one of the projects to re-innovate a school and install solar power panels to feed this school with a reliable source of energy. And here I want to quote one of my colleagues after the reflection session. And I asked the team what we have learned from this trip and this mission. One of them said that we gave them the hope. And the other guy, he said, no, they gave us the hope. They gave us the hope because their smiles, we didn't touch it by their faces or we saw it in their faces. Their smile, we saw it on their eyes. So they gave us the hope that we are doing something right toward humanity and towards the community. And here, allow me to thank also Gama and to tell him that and acknowledging that what you are doing is amazing. I'm sure that you are getting the help from those people. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a big round of applause for Ali, for his big heart, and for his effort, for what he's done for humanity. Okay, that takes me to Zagi. You are the chair of a similar organization as Ali, which called Society of Renewable Energy, and we know that you've worked with lots of various organizations and communities back home. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So the Society of Renewable Energy is the youth organization that focuses on the climate action and also accelerating the energy transition. So our mission to empower the youth through capacity building and also multi-institutional collaboration. So within the SRE, we create an agent of change. We educate within the university. We create 100% to create some amplifying voices in their universities. You can imagine, in one university, we got 5,000 students. And within the 5,000 students, we can amplify into several universities and already 47 student chapters within 4 years, our organization. So we believe within a decade, we can create some 12 million people in Indonesia that can support our energy agenda. So the SRE, it's come from the needs of the youth in Indonesia to collaborate, to share the knowledge, and act together. Within the pentahelix model, we want to bring all the stakeholders, like the government, like the private sectors, finance institution, and also the media. We work together with the local community, and there should be youth as a bridge within the pentahelix model. That's the idea of the Society of Renewable Energy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zagi. Another round of applause, please, for Zagi. And last, usually ladies first, but this time ladies last. Lara, you are the director at Youth Advocates for Change and a COP28 delegate, as well as former UAE ambassador for nature. Can you tell us more what drives you to be where you are now?
Oh my gosh. I think for me, youth around the world, there are more than 1.8 billion young people in the world right now, and we are actually the largest generation in history. And so during all these climate talks, and as we saw in business, in terms of entrepreneurship, it is so important to involve youth because we will be facing the impacts of climate change for the longest time. We will be going into these sectors that you are all in, so it's important to provide mentorship and education about how we should be shaping this future. But also, it's important to have youth at the forefront of all of these decisions because at the end of the day, we'll be inheriting what you leave and all the, I guess, negotiations. So yeah, I mean, I can tell you a bit about my nonprofits and where I work. I'm currently part of the children and youth constituency of the UNFCCC. So here at COP, we're doing a lot of different efforts in helping shape negotiations and ensure that youth are involved in the process. So we have a lot of different delegates, a few from Indonesia as well, and we are actually calling for specific negotiations, an energy negotiations track, because what we've seen is there is not a lot of discourse on energy, on renewable energy within COP. So that is one of the efforts that we're trying to do to call for a specific energy negotiations track because we have finance, we have mitigation, we have adaptation, but we don't have energy. And energy is one of the key roles in these negotiations. So yeah, I'm part of the energy working group of Youngo.
Yeah, you have 3 energy blocks here with you. Why don't we have a big round of applause for Lara? Thank you very much. So we've heard their stories, their inspirational stories. With Gamma, well, Zagi as well as Ali, they've done something around the renewable energy, right? But what about the other youth in our country? What do you think the role of youth in Indonesia in adapting and mitigating the climate crisis? For Gamma.
Yeah, I think I'll answer that. I think it's very important for our youth to be participants in change, especially when it comes to meeting Indonesia's net carbon zero goals, which we aim to reach by 2060. To do that, I think the youth plays a key role in pushing change, because not only, again, like you said, that we're the largest population base, especially in Indonesia, which we make up majority of the population, I think we are too big to ignore. So if we move forward with a united voice for the youth asking for change, I think it's a loud enough voice that all the stakeholders are forced to comply. And I think that's such a powerful thing for us to be able to move the youth and combat climate change, because it's something that's going to affect not just us, but future generations after us.
Yeah, we've seen the presentation that was made by the keynote speaker, Mas Diaz, earlier, all the devastating consequences that might happen, all the negative impact, like the sea level rises and all that. It's the current action that will have a devastating negative impact for the future generation, and that includes youth, right? So in this instance, do you think it's easy to convince or to empower youth to be more aware for the environment?
I think it's something that should be near and dear to everyone's hearts. Specifically us for youth, I think we have a mindset where we think that the future is not set yet. So we're very relaxed, very taken back. But in truth, it's very simple to reach the youth in Indonesia. I think by reminding them and hitting areas of interest that they are interested in, we are able to not only make them act for change, but make them willingly pursue change. For example, in Desa Bumi, we target remote villages in areas that don't have access to electricity. The youth there are very much active and participants of our projects because it's something that's close to their hearts, providing electricity to their homes. I think we find issues like that for us. Maybe it's indigenous areas. For Zaki, it's maybe college students and youth in general. If we touch on those points that are close to their own personal agendas, it's very much easy to encourage youth to participate in climate change fighting.
Is it possible for you to show us more about Desa Bumi on the slide presentation, if you don't mind?
Yes. I have a short presentation that I can share with everyone here about Desa Bumi. It's just going to be a quick 5 minutes, if you'll allow me.
Be my guest.
Testing. Could I have the slides, please?
Can the technical team help to pop up the presentation, please?
Thank
Here
you
we
so
are.
much.
Does I block the screen? Sure.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, and esteemed colleagues, thank you for giving me the opportunity to once again share our project here in COP28. Next slide, please. I'm honored to present Desa Bumi, an initiative that I founded in 2015. Desa Bumi's profound vision is to propel local economies in Indonesia through the strategic deployment of sustainable energy solutions, while also aligning seamlessly with the cultural intricacies of each community. Thank you. Next slide. Our central focus is on creating or amplifying access to electricity within these communities, recognizing its pivotal role in elevating the overall quality of life. Beyond mere utility, electricity serves as a catalyst for improved information accessibility, enhanced educational opportunities for children, and the facilitation of economic growth. Desa Bumi operates in a village-specific model, acknowledging that this unique challenges and opportunities are inherent to each locale. Back one slide. This bespoke approach ensures that our interventions are not only sustainable, but also intricately aligned with the distinct needs of each community. Next slide, please. That being said, we have been able to achieve this unique target in 3 separate locations across Indonesia. Next slide. Taking a look back at our inaugural initiative, we head over to Cipta Gelar. Next slide. Kasupuhan Cipta Gelar is a traditional Sundanese community known for its cultural preservation, including a specific governance system rooted in local wisdom and a commitment to sustainable living practices. Next slide. Implementing renewable energy in Kasupuhan Cipta Gelar is a challenge for outsiders. This is due to the need for a nuanced understanding of the community's cultural values, like I said before. Also to the potential resistance from external interventions, and also the necessity to tailor solutions to their specific needs. Next slide. What we are able to achieve with considerable amount of planning and collaboration is something astounding. 40 kilowatts of power generated, 75 households impacted, and the creation of a dedicated youth learning center. Next slide. But we didn't stop there. We decided to expand to Liu Village, where the Dayak Dea community has pioneered eco-friendly tourism, which prioritizes the preservation of their ancient culture and natural resources. Next slide. To align with the values of these Dayak people, and also enhance their economic benefits, we implemented a solar-based infrastructure to help with their ventures. Next slide. So in total, through this project, we've generated 2.6 kilowatts of electricity, allowing for the growth of more than 6,000 new tourists each month that visit the Dayak Dea community. Next slide. Our latest endeavor is our location in Bangkiling Raya. Next slide. In Bangkiling Raya village in South Kalimantan, we extended our efforts with a focus on sustainability, renewable energy, and respect for local values, particularly influenced by Islamic principles. Next slide. In the village, there's a collaboration between ourselves and an Islamic boarding school called Miftahul Ulum, which maximizes natural resources for activities like catfish breeding, beekeeping, chili cultivation. So this shows a strong commitment from us and them in our commitment to environmental preservation. Next slide. Through our projects, we were able to generate 5.3 kilowatts, which directly impact 400 students and helps cultivate 35 bee houses and more than 20,000 freshwater fish. This all totals in more than $30,000 of value generated. Now, although this number might not seem like a lot, but for indigenous communities, these are life-changing numbers that will impact them for years to come. Next slide. So after all this, what's next? What's next for Desabumi? Here in COP28, we're excited to announce that Desabumi is teaming up with the Society of Renewable Energy, with my friend Zagi over here, a youth organization driving the Indonesian energy transition through inclusive empowerment. Together, we aim to accelerate the impact of village development in 10 remote Indonesian villages across Indonesia, marking a pivotal step in our commitment towards sustainability and community empowerment. Next slide. And Taka as well, yes. Yeah. One more slide, thank you. So I think my message is to wrap this all up. As a youth, for the youth, I think it's important for the youth as future leaders to initiate and contribute to their communities. Like Desabumi, for example, is born from a middle school project that I started, which exemplifies this ethos. It's not about renewable energy. It's a tool for economic growth. The equation is simple. Renewable energy, local economic initiatives, creates community wealth. So for myself, Desabumi is not only a project, but it's also been a journey of discovering the wildly diverse cultures of Indonesia. We're a country made up of thousands of islands of different cultures. And for someone who grew up and lived in the capital city, this was an opportunity for me to go around and learn more and fall in love with the country I grew up in. So I hope that what we've accomplished here can be a source of inspiration for our future leaders. And thank you once again for allowing me to present here today, and I hope to see you all in COP29 next year.
Thank you very much. What an impressive presentation. Thank you very much for what you've done, your contribution for Indonesia. You may have a seat. Ali next to me, he can't stop saying good, awesome, and all that. Do you want to add something onto that, Ali?
Actually, we are so happy to see that beside me, Gama, who's serving the community. We have an Arabic say. I will try to translate it, and I hope that I translate it well. The guy who doesn't do good things to his family or his community, he's not a good guy. So I think Gama is a great guy, not only a good guy. You serve your community, you care about your community, and you are sharing a global vision where we should take the same steps. And I'm now full of inspiration and thoughts that I go back to my colleagues in Taqa and Taqa Youth to share with them what you are doing in Indonesia and to see that how we can mimic your steps, inshallah, Gama. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali. One more question. Do your friends and peers care for the environment as much as you do in UAE?
Well, we aligned before a year. We sit together, a couple of the youth, and we say that it is a right for us as a youth to raise our voices. It's very important. But if we don't have a unified voice, the scattered voice will turn to noise. And no one wants to hear noise. So we align about the importance and the actions toward environment, the community, the energy sector, and how to be rational about our energy transition journey. So my answer, yes. Most, and I would say the majority, and I can say that all of us, we are sharing the same goal towards the community, the environment, and the energy transition journey.
Okay, thank you, Ali. So Ali, Gama, Zagi, and Lara, they're example of youth being the agent of change instead of a vulnerable group, because in the future, it's their future that's at stake, right? But the problem is sometimes they're not given a platform to express themselves, and it becomes a challenge for them to how to do things. So my question for Lara is, here in UN, people, delegates, they talk about the regulations, about the policy, because it's the key element, so we ensure that we are doing the right thing, because at the end of the day, we have to go by the policy, right? And these regulations, it's the result of the high-level meetings and negotiations. So, like what everybody is doing right now at the plenary hall. In your perspective, where is the role of youth when these decisions they're made by the high-level ranking officials?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little story, or I guess a history of what we've been doing through Youngo, to answer your question. Essentially, in Sharm el-Sheikh at COP27, Amina Al-Omani, she was the youth envoy to the COP27 president. And in the UAE this year for COP28, the UAE has created the climate champion, the youth climate champion, because in the past there would be the president designate and then there would be a climate champion. So this year there's a president delegate, a climate champion, and a youth climate champion to ensure that youth are really involved in this process. So Her Excellency Shama Al-Mazuri has been absolutely incredible. And Youngo actually developed a global youth statement. So over the whole year, we've been holding consultations with youth and creating conferences from the local level in countries to regional levels, such as, let's say, Southeast Asia conferences, to the global level, where we hosted COI 18, which is the UN Climate Change Conference of Youth, 3 days before COP. And throughout all of these discussions, we created a global youth statement in UN language, which we then sent out to all party delegates, to the focal points. We presented it at pre-COP 28 and in the opening ceremony, and then had a meeting with Amina Mohammed, DSG. So we've been really engaged with all the officials within the UNFCCC and the UAE government. The thing is that all our engagements are very aligned with what a lot of people want. These youth demands aren't about just just put us in these rooms. We called for the operationalization of the Lost and Damaged Funds. That happened successfully yesterday. We're calling for a lot of different things that a lot of people just in civil society want from governments. So that's really important. And yeah, that I hope answers your points, your questions.
Thank you very much. So it's a good thing that we know that their voice is heard by the officials. And that takes me to Zagi. Okay, before we conclude, before I open the floor with Q&A session. So Zagi, Gama mentioned before that he faced challenges at the beginning, how to convince the community for the energy transition. And in your perspective, what kind of challenge you have encountered when trying to engage other parties, especially the communities and other stakeholders to take part in your program?
Yeah, because they don't know how to connect between the profitability within protecting the natures. So basically, we believe we can go hands in hands to protect the nature and also get the profitability. So that's one thing. And the thing that we have already done is to give some concrete action. We don't want to talk about our roadmap about the net zero emission by 2060. Yes, we know we already have a target within this 2060, and also we had a target within the NDC by 2030, follow net sync 2030. But we want to give some hopes from a dreams and translate to the action. That youth must be involved in all the situation, in all the planning situation. So I'm here with Gamma. We believe we can creating some collaboration, giving the energy access in Indonesia especially, because there will be a big challenge to give an equal opportunities, an equal access to energy from 270 million people in Indonesia, 17,000 islands in Indonesia. So we want to prove the concept of just energy transition with the youth-led initiative. We want to create some inclusive manners to be able to distribute the renewable energy generation for the outermost frontiers and least developed or Desa 3T in Indonesia. And we want to mimic the Desa Bumi and also the other organization to create some meaningful solution. The location that we targeted in the first one is they have the rice field. Because in Indonesia, with the uncertainty within the climate change, the farmer is really hard to utilize the farms within along the year. And we can install the solar PV. We can give them some irrigation, water solution, powered by renewable energy. And the second is we get a chance to increase our GDP within 1% if we help the economic activities in the rural area with the renewable energy. And that must be comes from the youth. And one thing I want to share to you, in order to protect the natures, that comes from the leaders who are always down to earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zagi. So we all agree what Zagi has stated, that doing something good for your environment doesn't mean you have to jeopardize your financial or your organization or company's financial goals. Are we all agree? Yes or yes? Thank you very much. And I heard, or I saw from Gama's presentation earlier that both of you have done a deal between Desa Bumi and SRE. Maybe Zagi can elaborate on that.
Yeah, so Gamma basically already mentioned that we want to target 10 villages. So the first phase, we want to target the social forest, the cultural village, and also some rural economic activities within the MSMEs. So all the solution must comes from the youth. And also we want to create some blended finance, because we all know that the just energy transition is really hard to, to make it realize. We need some collaboration from the stakeholders. We ask the government to act together. We ask for the private finance institution to create some solution within the financing, and we want to ask for the community to work together. And you mentioned before that the youth needs the platform, and we give the platform for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I believe there is an agreement between you two, because if we don't see, like what people said, no picture, it's hoax. So next we're going to witness to strengthen collaboration among youth. We all know is the foundation for advocating sustainable future and to create a greater awareness on the importance, especially of renewable energy to the global citizen. So right here, right now, I'm going to invite all of you. We're going to witness the signing agreement between two Indonesia youth organizations, and they are Desa Bumi and SRE, Society of Renewable Energy. So for that, I would kindly invite Gama as well as Zagi to please come forward. Oh, thank you very much. To sign the agreement, right? And this auspicious moment, it marks an important milestone for Indonesia in the area of renewable energy, especially the cooperation among the youth. And it's also a testament of a long-standing, progressive, solid relationship of collective efforts to combat the adverse impact of climate change so we all can secure a sustainable future for our next generation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zagi. Thank you, Gama. Just like one, you can all have a seat again. I remember I read somewhere on the article an inspirational quote. It says, individually, we are just one drop, but together, we are an ocean. Thank you very much. And I can sense from the floor that people screaming for questions. So I will open the floor for a Q&A, and I believe my time is not much left. So I will just allow perhaps just one question first to start with. If there is any question from the floor, I will try to facilitate and accommodate to your question and direct them to the respected speaker. Is there any? There's one there. Okay, just one question first. I'll pass on this.
Greetings. Thank you very much for this possibility. My name is Maciej Zagorski. I'm a professor at the Keio University, Japan. I work on energy communities and agrivoltaics and just transition. My question is, how do you find these local communities? Whether it's based on your knowledge or you have established kind of networks, or how you reach these people? That's the first question. And second question, could you elaborate on the model? Whether these local people, like farmers, whether they participate in this model, whether it's like a share model, etc. Thank you.
Well, he's very tricky. I allow one question and he make it into two. Okay, please, Gama.
Thank you so much for the question. I think the first question is that how do we locate these indigenous people and remote villages? Well, in Indonesia, we have a lot of databases that we can use that are open for public. Thankfully, KLHK, or the Minister of Forestry, was very open with us in collaborating for this project and identifying social villages that are in social forests in Indonesia. And also there are remote databases for Masyarakat Adat, which is cultural communities that are listed in the government. So we mostly use those two sources for us to select. And then it's really a case-by-case basis where we come and scout the area, see their needs, and see if what we can do, again, like my presentation said, suits their goals and their values. And that's how we decide which locations to help. Of course, we want to make sure that our efforts go to villages that actually need the help the most. The second part of the question, I think, was yes, the business model. So financing for projects like this is something very tricky. That's part of the reason we signed the MOU today, is to find common ground between government and private sector. Not only do we use funds from corporate social responsibility programs, but we're hoping that through our MOU with SRE, that we can also involve the government in funding projects like these. In terms of sustainability, we try to model our projects in a way that's self-sufficient. So, for example, in our inaugural project in Cipta, not only do we provide infrastructure, but we also provide training to the local youth. That's why we made the local youth learning center. There, they're able to learn how to maintain, how to develop, and how to progress the infrastructure that we've given them in a way that creates economic growth that's self-sufficient to maintain the help that we've provided. But of course, it's a challenge for every location. But But again, it's a very good question because helping is good, but making sure that your help continues even after you're done is more important.
Thank you very much. Does it answer your question? Okay, thank you. I guess I can squeeze in one more question. Can I? If not, then I will let the speakers to just give a closing statement or some words of encouragement or some message to take away for the audience today. Probably I start from Ali.
Well, thank you so much. My message is to keep the circle warm. I mean, close to each other. I mean, today we started between Zagi and Gama, and I'm really jealous that I want to be part of the circle and make the circle bigger, and we can influence as much as we can. The last message that I want to pass it. Doing the things that towards our community is 100% is the right thing to do, because we are belongs to this community, and the community that I meant is the humanity. It's not about countries, it's about the humanity. This is my message. So wherever you go, do the right things, because you are serving a humanity.
Thank you very much, Ali, for the kind words. Next is you, Gama, please.
Yeah, I think I'll keep my message short. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present here today. I think we're very excited to do a collaboration with SRE as well. And my message to close is basically for the youth to take action now. If not, then you're going to regret it later, because we are the ones suffering the consequences, so we should be the ones taking action to fight climate change as well.
It's better be late than never. Thank you very much, Gama. Next is you, Lara.
Yeah. I guess my closing statement is about helping youth. So I can see that there are a lot of people in the audience that may have their own businesses or are in government positions. And when you give youth the opportunities and the financing, a lot can come out of it. Because we as youth are so creative. We also have a lot of time on our hands because we're students. We don't have full-time jobs. We don't have responsibilities in terms of, like, we don't have that corporate or government responsibility tied to us. So we can do a lot. So if you do give us grants, if you do give us CSR funding, we can do a lot with that. So please connect with your youth communities and see how you can help them, either through mentorship, finance, or just training overall. Yeah.
Please trust the youth. They have the time, they have the energy, and mostly they have the passion. Okay, last to you, Zagi.
Yes. For me, I'm asking to the senior leaders to give us, the young generation, some wisdom and some guidance to be able keep always on the track, because the net zero emission by 2060 is really hard to achieve. The NDC target by 2030 is really hard. So we need your expertise, we need your advice to be able to create some meaningful engagement, meaningful movements, because we already show you a really concrete action. So it's time for us to collaborate now between the international dialogue and intergenerational movement. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again to all speakers who come from near and far to join this conference. Your spirit, your energy, your enthusiasm, really very, very contagious. And you have made this conference a success. We owe you another big appreciation. Thank you very much once again. So let's continue to encourage the participation of young people to support their innovative ideas, to work towards the implementation of clean energy and eventually for the sustainable environment in order to achieve the ambitious net zero goal. Okay, thank you very much once again for all the participants.